Hi, I'm Dean Foley, and you're listening to the Indigipreneur podcast, a show about Indigenous entrepreneurs, innovators, and leaders, and their inspiring stories.
I don't believe in failure, there's only win or learn.
In today's show, we hear how Yamatji man Leslie Dingo from Carnarvon, who lost $160,000 in his life savings before turning it all around and becoming a successful trader and entrepreneur, who now has enough money which allows him to continue living in his community and living the life that he wants. So how did you get into trading? Was there an aha moment?
There was never really an aha moment. Our careers started off in the mining industry as apprentices, and which is a pretty good career to be in. It pays quite well. Unfortunately, we never really had that awareness of what we really wanted to be doing in our lives at that point in time when we were 16 years old. And eventually learning about finances, the tax system, how life works in general, you come to realize that working as an employee for someone else isn't the lifestyle that we wanted, and certainly wasn't going to get to where we wanted to be in our lives by doing that particular occupation. So, eventually led into, managing money and how to, just the basic thing is like a savings account, and it grew on from there to investing, where we looked at property and then stocks. But, stocks always kind of interested us in terms of, the fast pace, the ability to make money quickly and also lose money quickly, just FYI. And then eventually that interest that sparked us, and that's where we ended up going into and looking at in further as we grew up. But we, as most people, we didn't really have a clear direction of what we wanted to do in our lives. We kind of stumbled upon it. There was never really an aha moment.
You've been doing mining since you were 16. When did you decide to, get into trading and learn about trading?
Basically from the age of 18, I opened my first trading account and always was interested in it and looking at it. And at that time, had a bit of spare savings, I guess you could call it, and started dabbling in the market. And eventually it grew on from there, started playing around, investing, losing a bit of money, making a little bit of money, and that just snowballed from there on.
Awesome. And when you found out about trading, stock markets, was there anything that sparked your interest to begin with?
I guess the drawing card for us was that with trading, it's possible to start with a small amount of initial investment and to make large returns. The conservative lifestyle of the conservative approach to investing, where you're getting returns of maybe 5, 6, 10%, which is great, but it wasn't going to enable us to get to where we want in our lives quicker. We're pretty impatient, and with trading, you have the ability to make large sums of money in a short period of time. At the same time, just for disclosure, you can lose just as much in a short period of time. But that's what really attracted us to us. And then also trading gives that lifestyle back in terms of the time. Our trading it might be an hour a day, it could be 6 hours, as opposed to working in the mining industry where you're working 12 plus hour shifts. Your days could be 14 hours at times and weeks away from home. And that's just not where we wanted to be in our lives moving forward, especially now that we have a young family.
And when you were just getting in and learning about trading, was there anyone you went to in particular? Like, who were your mentors? Did you read much about Warren Buffett?
Yes, I read a lot about Warren Buffett, but we didn't really have any mentors as such. A lot of my weekends after a big night out or whatever, there would be the 2 days after would be studying stocks, researching. And it's really only in the last 2 years that we've actively pursued it, where I was, I'd go home from work, 12-hour shift, and spend 2-3 hours each night just researching charts, researching stocks, reading as much as I can on the bus to work, and from always on social media, looking at stuff, researching entrepreneurship, mindset, a lot of things that would help us to being successful traders. But in terms of mentors, unfortunately, no, we didn't really have any. We were self-taught, which is not the approach that I would have looking back in hindsight. In trading and investment in general, there's a lot of resources out there to enable people to be successful. But it's really finding the right ones and ones that you can trust. And there are some businesses and companies that do provide a service in training people for that. But I'd thoroughly recommend anyone out there that's looking at it to do their due diligence, research it, and find a good provider, because there are some good providers that do support the learning for trading and investment. But there is also a lot of scams in this industry because of the draw card of making a lot of money, making it quickly, solving all your problems, etc. But quickest way to get a leg up and get some good guidance and steering in the right direction is finding a mentor, And it's something I look back and wishing that I did sooner.
Yeah, is there anything in particular, like if you had that mentor, you could have avoided, like some of the challenges earlier on?
Yeah, certainly. I probably would have, saved myself a lot of heartache, a lot of losses. A lot of the lessons that I've learned from trading is from losing money. That's from losing and almost going broke. At one point, we almost between my brother and I, we almost lost our entire life savings, and that was the biggest lesson that we had.
Was there a specific example where you could have avoided, losing money?
Yeah, I guess with most industries, having that right mentorship, or at least steering someone knowing that's made all those mistakes previously, would save a lot of heartache in financial investment and trading. Some of the lessons that we learned, and the best lessons that we learned, actually come from our losses and failures. And we at one point we almost lost we did lose our entire savings between myself and my brother. The years work of hard work in the mining industry, it was pretty much gone, wiped off the table. But from that point, you have to take those losses. You have to learn from them. There's no win or losing in trading and investment. There's only win or learn in terms of how we approach the markets. But yeah, if we had a mentor that's probably already made all those mistakes before we got to them, it would save us a lot of heartache, a lot of money. So yeah, I can't stress enough of having a good mentor out there to steer you in the right direction and possibly prevent you having those same mistakes they have. One of those big mistakes is losing money in the market, and it's hard to start over again. But when you do, at least you've learned that good lesson anyway.
Are you able to disclose how much, you were looking at losing? Was it in the tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands? Or
for myself personally, I lost 160,000, which was all my life savings. Half of that was in our superannuation accounts. And that was a big blow, but I had to really crush it. It's the spot when you look back and you think you've spent years accumulating that, and especially in the mining industry, there's a lot of years. But also kind of went in with that approach that, if we've lost it all, then we've had a crack, and then we'll keep going back again, And at our point in lives at that time, where I think we were only 24, 25, so it wasn't like it was, the end of the game or anything. We trudged back on, and, we learned from it. And then from that, we were able to generate all those losses back within a year and some, 12 months after. So it was a good comeback story, but it was also, I guess, good validation for our own perspective to get back, and that we were on the right path and we made the right decisions. We learned from it, and that's the important thing. And even looking back on the hindsight, if we were successful in those trades early on, we were more than likely destined to encounter that failure at some point along the track, because we would have, I guess, blindedly thought that we were invincible and, could do nothing wrong, which is not the reality of trading. Trading is it's a grind. It's a battle, most of the time, half the time we lose money and half the time we make money, but at the end of that day, that trading, that back and forth, that grind, you do come out with a positive outcome at the end, positive return.
And what do you think, after sustaining that big losses, what kept you in the game? What do you think was your success factors for, going back into positive?
I guess for most people, or most entrepreneurs out there, and business people in general, and most Indigenous people, I would imagine, we started off with no money. We broke most of our lives, so there's only one way you can really go up, So when you're back against the wall, you go all in again. That's what kept us going. It's not like we borrowed money or anything like that. All the money that we did lose was money that we worked for and accumulated over a period of a short working career. But yeah, going back in again, it was just you could only go up. You can only hit rock bottom so many times before you bounce back up.
Do you think that's key for an entrepreneur mindset, to just keep going and get in there?
Oh, definitely. I don't believe in failure. There's only win or learn. And you got to keep going back to the bat, have another swing and have another crack at it to be successful, and especially entrepreneurs starting off, especially those seed development programs. You're going to face a lot of rejection, a lot of hassle, a lot of negativity, a lot of critiquing, a lot of no's. You're not going to get funding, you're not going to get this, and that's, you're going to ride those waves, and you're going to have those setbacks, but you got to have that mindset, that clear goal, that vision, and that drive and that tough resilience in your own mentality to keep pushing forward, until you are successful, And when you have that mindset, I will be successful, it's only a matter of time. You'll eventually get there.
Were you tempted at any stage just to, with those big losses, just to stop and just go back into mining?
No. I value mining. It was great for me, to get me where I am today, but it wasn't the career that I wanted to be in. It wasn't something that I found fulfilling, something that didn't really suit my lifestyle or my background. Trading was where my real passion was. And I think for a lot of entrepreneurs out there and people that want to get into business and have a good, successful life, I would advise them to find what you're really passionate about, what you like doing, and then make a business out of it. And then it doesn't feel like I'm going to work when I wake up in the morning and I check my charts and I check the news and I see what the market's likely to do. I love it. I look forward to the Monday morning, and the Tuesdays and every weekday when the market opens. So, yeah.
Awesome. And that's really cool. So with Warren Buffett, like one of his rules, because you've written a lot about him, one of his rules was, the number one rule is never to lose money.
Yeah, well, I think Warren's got probably a different trading style, different investment style. He's a very more on the conservative side, whereas I'm a trader. I guess when if you imagine anyone that plays poker out there, I'm a bit of myself and my brother are poker players as well. We like to get in the grind, and we're happy to lose money to make money, and take that risk. And both different investment styles have their trades off, but one of the big golden rules is capital preservation. You don't want to lose money in the markets, but if you do, at least over the long term, you got to be making money. And as a trader, I lose a bit of money, but I make money, and it's a bit of a grind. But I know at the end of the year, I'll have a positive expectancy and I'll be profitable. But you have to have a good mental resilience, I guess, when you're looking at the screen and you see your account down and in the red, you lost tens of thousands of dollars that day or something. And it does take a bit of a blow to the ego, to the self-esteem. And it depends on your trading style and who you are and how comfortable you are with risk and seeing risk. It's not like a business where I use a restaurant as an example. A restaurant owner will be Monday to Thursday, maybe they might be operating at a loss because they haven't got much customers. And then over the weekend they make all their money back, they're in profit. But they don't do their books at the end of each shift, and they don't do their accounting. They probably do it at the end of the week, end of the month. But with trading and investment, that your account value is right in your face. It's red if it's in a loss. It's green if it's going good. And to see that up front, it's a pretty nervous and it can really test your toughness sometimes.
And do you think, even though you didn't have mentors, that being really good poker players helped out with trading?
It definitely helps with analyzing and managing risk. There's a lot of similarities between poker and trading. I guess there's three good parts of to help you be successful in trading and also in poker. And one of them is obviously the psychology. You don't want to get bluffed out, and that makes up a large percent of how successful you can be in trading. So your psychology, your mindset. The next one is how much you're risking into it. So your money management skills. You're putting X amount of your pot in, or you're putting so much of your portfolio in. And the last but least important out of those three areas is actually your strategy. You get the best strategy in the world, but if you don't have the right mindset or the good business skills or money management skills to employ that strategy, then you won't be successful. So there's those similarities between poker and trading, but also business in general. You got to have the right mindset. You got to be able to manage your money correctly, and then you got to have a basic business strategy. Basic business strategy is you buy these bits of ingredients for $20, and you sell the cake for 30. And so I really try to knuckle down on those three areas. Starting off as a trader, and the biggest one to overcome was psychology and mindset.
And for you, how did you strengthen, psychology and mindset? Was there any books or any courses you did?
There's a lot of books that I read. The Power of the Subconscious Mind. A lot of YouTube, great resource for anyone that's looking into it. A lot of motivational speaking. Stuff, researching a lot of successful people out there that are already doing well in business or trading or entrepreneurship in general, and then finding out what makes them successful. One of the things they say is, having the right mindset, because you're going to face a lot of negativity in this industry, a lot of backlash, a lot of no's, and you got to have that toughness, that mental toughness about you to just succeed.
For you, where do you get a lot of your, negative feedback and haters from? Is there a bit from the community or like stereotypes from non-Indigenous people?
It's not so much from the Indigenous community, but there's a lot of from the middle class non-Indigenous society. When I talk about investing in general. And especially when I made the decision to leave full time, there was a lot of negativity like, whoa, well, you're throwing your money into the stock market. That's pretty risky. And then, a lot of people that say that the stock market is risky is people that generally don't own shares. But yeah, there wasn't so much negativity from the Indigenous community at all. If anything, there was only praise and support, and I think having that good support around you and the like-minded people and individuals that you interact with every day makes a really big difference, I actively chose in my life to remove a lot of the people and influences in my life that weren't helping me to achieve my goal. Whether it be social media or everyday people at the workplace. I used to, I'd limit my interaction with people that weren't productive to my goals or to my well-being. And that's what I would encourage a lot of people to do. Look at your environment, look who you're hanging around with, look at your influences. And if you don't have a good role model or anyone like that of that's around with you, I would encourage you to just imagine that yourself 10 years from now, where you want to be, who you want to be, you idolize that person and then, let that influence you in your decisions in your life. Be the hero that you needed when you were growing up.
So another big success factor would be just creating a positive environment.
Yeah. You got to try do everything that can enable you to succeed. If you're trying to lose weight, for example, and your friends are like, hey, we're going out, there's an all-you-can-eat buffet, I'll be like, sorry, guys, and as much as you could say, yeah, I'll come along, but I won't eat anything, you're putting yourself in an environment where you're not enabling yourself to succeed. So I would strongly look around. You don't have to be negative about it to your long life friends or anything like that. You keep that circle within you, but review your circle. And if there are people that aren't helping you to achieve your goals or your ambitions, then I'd really consider reviewing it and then finding those right people that you do need in your life. Seeking out a mentor, seeking out friends that have the like-minded ideas of entrepreneurship and businessship, trading and investment, and then interacting with those people. When you hang around people that might not be the best influences or negative, and I'll say this in the extreme sense here, if you're hanging around people that might drink a lot or be are alcoholics, you're more than likely going to end up an alcoholic. But if you're hanging around successful people that empower you, that motivate you, give you ambition, help you fuel your goal, you can network, liaise, leverage off. You're going to be in a better position and a better environment to succeed.
Yeah, definitely. Was there anything you changed with your trading? Just your trading style, anything that really transformed and made you a successful trader?
It was back to that principle of win or learn. Every time I did have a win, I'd pat myself on the back. Great, cool, next trade. And every time there was a loss, I really had to analyze it. Okay, what was the mistake? What was the key factor? Did I get in the trade late? Did I didn't do enough fundamental research? So investing in the company, the management, etc., and really taking that opportunity as a loss to enable it to be a learning outcome. And that's, you have to do that as a grind. It's not it's a one day thing. It's over the course of a thousand trades. Because my strike rate might only be like 50% of the time that I'm right, but when I do make money off trading, I make more than my losses.
Awesome. And are you able to touch on some of the big wins you've had lately and the reason why?
So the biggest, I guess, the one today that's currently in a trade at the moment, which I haven't closed the position on now, but it's currently $6,000 up, and I entered the trade on Monday. And I guess now that I have a lot of more time and that I'm doing trading full time, I have a lot more time to research and do my analysis. And that trade's currently $6,000 up with an initial $10,000 investment into it, so I'm about 60% up. And one of those things was just being able to watch the news, watch how the price reacts. You can tell a lot from the story of the buying or selling pressure as the price moves up and down. So that's more the technical analysis with the charts. But that's currently in the trade that I'm in at the moment. And the reason why it's so successful is this company just launched an app last week, and they've got a lot of. I think they made 200,000 in the first week, and then now another 260,000 in the second week in revenue. And this company has a low valuation, so they aren't actually earning much, but now they are earning. They're looking at making $1 million a month. So that there is a key indicator that this price is a good company, that at the current price it's at now, it's more than likely going to go up. So that's the initial reason for me entering trade, and it's paid dividends at the moment. It hasn't hit my price target yet, but time will tell.
So it's already 60% on the money that you invested. What's your price target? Is it like 200% the money, or?
Yeah. So if I could get to 10,000 profit, I'd probably lock in profits with a thing called stop losses. So even if it did retrace, say 25%, then at least my order will sell at a certain limit, so that I've secured money. But then you can also do things like free carry, where I'll sell a portion of that profit, and then let the price continue on. Because the long term, it looks like a good investment, but I'm more of a trader. I like to get in and out. Take the profit off the table, so it's in my bank account, and then look for the next opportunity. But I'll keep it on my watch list. There's a few strategies that you can employ in terms of managing your money and then the risk in a trade.
That's unbelievable. I think you mentioned earlier, 5-10% rates of return on investment. A lot of people are happy with, but you're going for 100%, which is awesome.
Yeah, I just myself personally, was never happy with the conservative lifestyle or employment choices. I really wanted to get places quicker. I was impatient, if you want to call it that. But I knew I wanted to help make a change and help make a difference, not only in my life first, but then also for others. I really wanted to enable me to do that was to be successful and to be successful quickly. I wanted to get, we're not there yet. We're not at that I guess we had an arbitrage goal of $1 million. But when we do get to that point, it's a milestone. It's just a theoretical number, but it's just a milestone that we get till to helps enable us. It's a goal, and then we'll move on to the next major milestone.
So is that like, so this is a recent one. What's your biggest win? Are you able to talk about that one?
Well, I had it in two different accounts. So I also managed my own money in my superannuation account and also my personal account. My personal account was $189. That was the biggest win. And then super was about $150,000. But that wasn't a trade as such where I was in and out. That was over a 3-year period. And that was a huge grind. That was a really one that tested the psychology and tested me personally, But that was pretty much the comeback trade that helped us from losing all our money to getting back to where we were with more money, and then eventually, as the years progressed, to where we are now, trading as full-time traders.
Which company was it? Was it Apple?
No, it was so pretty much those big wins that we had was on the back of the lithium sector. So a few years ago, we did a lot of due diligence, and lithium's going to be hot, in the coming years, driven a lot by the electric vehicle industry, especially from China. And China is one of the major importers, exporters, does a lot of trade with Australia, and luckily for us, we lived in a region where we knew mining. Mining was our background, and then also in the Western Australia, there was a mine called Pilgangoora, which was just shy of Port Hedland in Western Australia. And so we had that kind of, that background. We knew our expertise, and then we also saw an opportunity there, a very undervalued opportunity in this particular stock. And we just all lost a lot of our money and, nearly broke, but we're still looking for the next opportunity. And we were lucky to stumble across this company called Pilbara Minerals. And so, their share price, well, I was watching them they were at 1 cent, and I was watching them, and the next day they had an announcement and they shot up to like 2.4 cents, and that's when I bought in. At today, they're at $1 something. So it's a huge return. I sold out on their high about $1.20. If I hold on for a couple more years, if I did, it probably could shoot up to about $3 or $4. But I'm happy where I am right now, taking my profits off the table and trading full time. But that was my biggest trade. That was I guess our comeback story. I'm sure a lot of entrepreneurs out there, or successful entrepreneurs out there, do have similar stories. There's people that are broke and unsuccessful, and just really grinding day in and out to try to get their products or their sales, their business off the ground. But eventually they do hit it, and eventually they do get it. And when they do get it, it's great. I'll say it's great, but you got to stay humble and then look for the next trade and the next venture, or keep on improving. There's no win or lose. It's only win or learn, as I mentioned. But we also have instilled in us a continual improvement mindset. Just because we're here at this level, it's great. But we're going to keep pushing forward, keep getting better, keep learning, keep maintaining your edge in the market, as they call it. Because if we're not getting better, then our competitors are, or other traders, and we'll eventually fall behind or lose. But we can't have that. Keep driving forward.
So, what are some of the tactics and strategies you're using to stay ahead of the pack and keep winning?
I guess doing a lot of fundamental research. So that's investing. Look at a company, you can just see the stock code for it, but you can also see a lot of background information, like how many shares they have on issue. If they have a lot of shares on issue, then that means that they've done a lot of capital raisings, which is they're constantly going back to the market and asking for more money, which isn't a good sign. So we look at companies that haven't done that, and then also have a lot of good prospects, a lot of future possible business outcomes where it could really lift the share price. And mining companies are like that. They generally start off as an exploration company, not valued as much, but once they start digging in the ground, you might find a huge deposit. There's a lot of gold, a lot of lithium, whatever the case may be. So that's where we initially started, and that's one of the strategies we look at in terms of, is a company fundamentally good to invest in over the long term? Over the short-term trading that we do, we more so let the news dictate whether we enter a trade. So back to the other company that made revenue of $200,000 in their first week off an app. That's a pretty good return for a business that hasn't been making much money and that's undervalued and has a low amount of shares on issue and has a higher possibility that this is going to be a successful trade. You could look at all these things, tick all the boxes. The company has this, X, Y, Z. Yep. And all of that adds confluence, or, all those had to a higher probability that it's going to be a successful trade. You can still have circumstances where we enter a trade and we don't make money, we lose money, but over the course of 1,000 trades, this particular strategy earns us money. We do have other strategies. So you have technical analysis where you're looking at a chart. You got things called candlesticks, and you can use certain indicators, or just by looking at a chart, see whether a stock is overvalued or undervalued, and if there's a good opportunity to enter or to sell a stock.
Nice. And talking about one trade at the moment that's on everybody's mind, Bitcoin. Have you guys, looked into that a little? Could you give any feedback? Because obviously, some of the mob in the community are investing in it, that kind of stuff.
Personally, myself and my brother, we have not invested in Bitcoin directly. I'll state that. Now, with Bitcoin, for anyone that doesn't know, it's referred to as a cryptocurrency. And there's a lot of media talk around cryptocurrencies, the pros and cons, and you might have seen a lot of the news in terms of how much it's rallied up recently in terms of its value, and then also in the last couple of weeks decreased in value. So Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency which isn't governed and managed by a particular government. It's decentralized, what it's called. And it's also transferred wirelessly through the air and through the internet and through different transactions. But myself and my brother, we haven't invested directly in Bitcoin, but we have invested in companies that do manage mining of the Bitcoin or different types of cryptocurrencies. And we have had some success with trading them, but it was more so in a trading sense. Personally, the principle of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, I think, is great, especially for disrupting, particular currencies and government institutions where they can't control the currency. However, the platform on which coin is managed in terms of its price and how it can be traded, I do believe it's certainly up for manipulation. If me and you were the only ones trading the particular stock, we could just be selling it and buying it back from each other at different prices, and we could actually influence and manipulate that market, push it up the prices artificially. And then when that happens, you get a lot of people that aren't aware of Bitcoin and, the hype and, oh, wow, it's going up. It's got up 10,000% or whatever the case may be. I've got to buy in. And that's when generally people buy in. And then that's when more the real pro traders or people that are looking at the cryptocurrencies generally sell. And I think that's what has happened in the recent weeks. But as the principle for cryptocurrencies, I think it's actually great if it could be in a platform where it was, less prone to manipulation of the price.
Yeah, that's really good advice. So Yeah, I mean, for people that want to invest, like I had a few friends, post, they were winning and kind of love Bitcoin. But yeah, since the price dropped, they haven't been talking as much. So I think,
Yeah.
What you said.
No, myself and my brother, anything, lithium, for example, I know in WA there was a lot of talk about it recently in the news, and it's great, but my brother and we were looking at that 3 years ago, and now that it's currently in the meter and it's all hype, that's the time when we sell, and a lot of pro traders do that, and unfortunately a lot of, as I refer to it, mum and dad investors, they come in at the wrong time. They buy in on the hype and then get left holding a large loss, and then that there can test their psychology of whether, they were made for investment. Do I sell now and save my money? And, it can lead to a lot of heartache for people. So I would strongly recommend anyone to do their research, look into it, and then, seek professional financial advice before going into any venture like that. That's high risk. People call stocks and trading high risk, but cryptocurrency is even more volatile.
So don't get sucked in by the hype.
Yeah, don't get. You really have to discipline your emotions when trading. There's lots of times where I would look at a mine, a bit of news from a company that's a mining company. Oh wow, good drill results. Oh, there's heaps of gold there, etc. But the market might not react to it, and then I lose money, And so I really have to discipline myself, look at things like the fundamental, look from a clear view of the situation, and then make the assessment and make the right decisions. But all that comes with experience and a lot of practice.
A lot of hard work, all entrepreneurship. So do you reckon stick to your strengths too? I think you mentioned do you guys venture out much on things you don't know much about, or do you stick to mine and that kind of stuff?
We do venture out occasionally, but we do have a kind of a set. One of the set rules that we have is trade what you know. Just because someone's successful in baking cakes or selling hats or something doesn't automatically mean they're going to be successful at selling cars or anything like that. One of our golden rules is trade what you know, and it's proven. You're reliable with your information, because you've got that experience. It doesn't mean that you can't learn new things, but in the trading world, you should do your research before venturing out. And as time goes, as we develop more and we learn more, we certainly will be venturing out a lot of more so the mining sector, but also then to the tech sector, which we've had some success in recently, especially with the way the world is transforming, I guess, in terms of media devices, social media, your smartphone. You look at your app. 5 years ago, I probably wouldn't even have an iPhone, but now I can't live without it. It's my link to my trading. I can do all my trading from my smartphone. And it's really transforming the way we are. It's really a disruptive technology, and it's some of the stuff that we're researching and going into now is stuff that's going to revolutionize the future world. And electric vehicles is a simple example of that. You're not seeing too much of them now, but in 10, 20 years' time, they'll be mainstream. I'd like to. I remember seeing this one picture of I think it was New York, and I think it was 1901 or something like that, and there was just hundreds and hundreds of carts and horses and people walking down the main street. And then 10, 20 years later, it's just all cars. And it's people. There's less people, but there's heaps of cars. It's a busy freeway, pretty much. So that's a good reminder for me to be looking at those disruptive technologies and staying ahead of the curve and being able to make a huge amount of profit off those technologies and those ventures that are going to change the way that we live. It's it's a good opportunity there.
It probably comes down to what you mentioned before, right? That, don't get sucked into hype. Just find out what you're really passionate about and just be, learn as much as you can about it, because you can make money in anything.
Yeah, pretty much, And when you do have that passion in it, you're more than willing to do a better job. If you don't really like baking cakes or anything like that, you're not going to give it 100%. I like trading. I could sit at a computer, not the greatest, but I could sit there, research stocks and do that because that's what I like, that's me personally. And there's some people that, might like, baking cakes, for example, or selling cars, or being a program developer, or creating apps and selling them on. I really employ everyone to find what they're passionate about, what they're good at, or if they're not good at it, because you're obviously you got the right interest in mind, and then you can turn that into a career. People turn a lot of the things that they're good at into careers and become quite successful at it.
Yeah, so you can make money at anything, really. You don't have to, do something you don't like.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I was, I guess, since recently leaving mining, I do a lot of self-review of myself, and I really learned that I hated my job. I'd come in meetings. I guess I was middle corporate of the mining company, and the corporate world just wasn't. It was not me at all. I just did not gel with it. I had a pure passion of hating the corporate mentality, and it just wasn't me personally. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. It just wasn't me. If people love that, being in that leadership role, doing a particular job, all the best to them. But for me personally, it was a job that I hated coming to, and a lot of people in Australia are currently working jobs that they probably don't like or even hate. I mean, me personally, I hated it. It just paid well and financed me to get me where I wanted in life. But there's a famous, motivational speaker in the US called Les Brown, and he refers to it as, spiritual suicide, where people are going to a job that they hate, where they just loathe. And there's nothing worse than spending hours and hours, days at a particular job or workplace that you don't like. And it can be quite soul-crushing over a period of a long time. And that just wasn't me. Where trading has given me all those things that I was earning for.
So what did you hate most with the corporate mindsets and way of doing business compared to like an entrepreneurial mindset?
I guess the corporate lifestyle, also the corporate structure was very rigid, very set in this particular ways, a very different culture to an entrepreneurship, where an entrepreneurship you can be the boss, which was one of the things that drew me to it, but also the amount of freedom and time, that you get back. I wasn't getting that in the corporate world. I was working long hours. I had phone calls, and it just wasn't fitting well with me and where I wanted to be. In terms of the mindset, one of my former employers, I guess he was my mentor at the time, broke it down for me why people kind of do the jobs they do or why they do anything in life, and they put it down into 3 categories. One of them was autonomy. So that's people that want to be the boss. There's some guy working at Macca's right now that's the manager there. He doesn't probably really care too much about Macca's, but he loves his job because he's the boss. He's leading a team. It's great. So there's that autonomy. The next one was mastery. Where people, I put it as a carpenter. Maybe there's a carpenter out there that just loves making fine quality furniture and wood products. He loves his job. He just wants to be the master at it. And the last one for me personally, it was purpose. There are people that are doing jobs just because they yearn a sense of purpose from their job. I wasn't getting that from mining. I actually felt more so that mining was, it's pretty much just, digging up the resources, digging up the land. And I wasn't getting that. I wasn't feeling that. It wasn't really comfortable for me. I benefited off it, but I didn't like the approach that mining companies had, especially dealing with traditional owners of the land. The major companies like FMG, they're currently in a legal battle with the Indigipreneur people, which is my mother's side. I didn't like the way they do that, and I think for a long time, especially in the previous decades, the Australian government, mining companies in general, they actually benefited a lot off the Indigenous owners and took advantage of that. I didn't want that. And for me, I guess the purpose that trading gave me was that I was able to make money, which is great, woohoo, but also from the next milestone, I guess, for myself and my brothers would be to seek out and look for talent that's out there in terms of other traders or other Indigenous traders or potential traders that want, that leg up in life or want to learn the skill, and then we could be mentors for other people to, I guess, put it bluntly, is for them to learn how to make money, learn how to make their own money, off the trading and investment market, to fuel them, to give them all the skills and requirements needed to be successful, and that there gave us a lot more purpose than any mining corporate job ever could, helping people that, are willing to take the risk, people that can, start off with an initial amount and then make something of themselves and get to where they want to be in life. So it was purpose. Purpose was the biggest thing. that entrepreneurship gave us, as opposed to being in the corporate mining.
And it's probably a good career too, if people like it, trading, because they can stay in community, right? Stay in community and help out.
Yeah, certainly. Like I said before, most of my trading can be done off my smartphone. It's just a bit more beneficial that if I had a bit, a desktop monitor and a couple of screens, but there's no reason I could do this anywhere pretty much in the world that has an internet connection.
It's amazing. And so what keeps you, motivated and keep going? What are the drivers?
I guess it's being home with my children, and constantly having that long-term vision. I think, even as a trader, I get, sucked back into the short-term trading or 5-minute charts. But really having that long-term perspective, that long-term vision and goals, you gotta imagine those goals are in front of you 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, and then really strive for them. So it's having those goals. I know I'm going to have my ups and downs in that period, but I know at the end of 10, 20 years or whatever target that I set, that I'll be at that particular goal. If I'm not at that goal, I'm going to ask myself why and find out the reason why, and then, correct those actions and then keep moving forward, So it's a grind, You've got to stay highly motivated. But I, put myself in an environment where I have the best chances of succeeding. And when I do have those days where I feel like nothing's going to plan, it's, maybe I should give up. I just have to jump on YouTube and look at some motivational videos, and then I feel a bit better, or look at some, mentors that you might have, or even Warren Buffett, I'm sure he has his bad days too, everyone does. But you really have to have that tough mental resilience to keep pushing forward over the long term.
And let's say, in a couple of years' time, the Dingo brothers, multimillionaires, what are you going to do then? Are you going to keep investing or be in a position to, help others, like you mentioned?
Yeah, so I guess one of the points that we start off with, well, my mindsets growing up was I really need to help myself get to a position before I can really help anyone else. But once we get to that established stage, we'll be looking at possibly, probably wouldn't go into managing other people's money, but more so setting up a training and learning environment where we can really start giving back to the community, not just in the sense of, here's some money, do as you wish. So looking back at a lot of those seed startups, and then really giving back and giving that opportunity to other entrepreneurs that are looking to get out there, I mean, it would be great if I had a leg up over the years of my trading. I'd really love to have appreciated that, but I don't really know too many other traders out there, or especially Indigenous traders out there that have the same drive and passion that we have for trading or entrepreneurship in general. So that's why it's pretty important to surround yourself. I guess that's why we're friends on Facebook, Danny, is because you're an entrepreneur. You're out there, you're grinding, and it's great, man. I love what you do.
Thanks, bro. Thanks. He's getting a bit rowdy. Just to, I guess, sum it up, got a lot of good value out of this that going to benefit people. But is there anything I've missed that you wanted to touch on, or just?
Yeah, I'd probably just say in regards to, I think on your other podcast you've asked about books to read. Guys and girls out there, I'd encourage you to read. The first book would be The Automatic Millionaire. One thing, if you can't manage your own finances, I don't think you can manage a companies or a business out there, So The Automatic Millionaire, Google it, buy it, download it. The next book would be How to Win Friends and Influence People. That's a great book just for life in general. I am an introvert, so a person that's typically shy and doesn't speak too much. But in saying that, I learned a lot of value being able to communicate with people, and entrepreneurship or really successful entrepreneurs are generally extroverted people that are able to pitch their idea, able to sell, have great communication skills. But even as an introverted person, you can still have those good communication skills. It just might be from your ability to type or write or text. But I would encourage you to read that book because it helped me tremendously. And the third and final book would be a book called Outliers. Now, this book, it sums up the key message there is that a lot of the successful people, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, these people, whilst they might have had tremendous success in that, a lot of it came down to their ability of just putting in a lot of hard work. Bill Gates himself, at the point in time in America, he was at a university where he was one of the only people that had a lot of access to a computer to be able to do programming. So he had a lot of free time on his hand where he just spent programming, and it comes back to a bit of a rule of you should have 10,000 hours of experience before you're really considered a master of anything. And I believe myself and my brother, we've had that with trading. We've spent a lot of nights, weekends, just looking at charts, researching, to get that mastery. And we've previously done apprenticeships as well. As we started off in our mining career, and apprenticeship, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week over the course of 4 years, it sums up to about over 10,000 hours. So, and it brings back that, key message is that, talent, having all the talent in the world is good, but, hard work will always beat talent when talent doesn't work hard.
That concludes today's episode of Indigipreneur. If you would like to know more about Leslie, connect with him on Twitter at Leslie_Dingo or Facebook. If you like this episode, please share it with friends or connect on social media at Indigipreneur, where you can find more episodes like this. Are you a young Indigipreneur? If yes, come along to our First Nations Youth Summit, which will be hosted in Brisbane on the 28th to 29th of June. It's an opportunity to connect with other First Nations youth, create new professional networks, and learn new skills you can take back to your community. For more information, please go to the website at firstnationsyouthsummit.com. This episode was brought to you by Amanda Young from the First Nations Foundation. The First Nations Foundation helps First Nations people to achieve economic freedom through financial literacy training and support. Feel free to get in touch with the First Nations Foundation by emailing info@fnf.org.au or visit their website at www.fnf.org.au. Today's episode has been hosted by myself, Dean Foley, and produced by Damien Rensley.